Good morning, everyone. So, today our readings were covering Proverbs chapter 12 through Proverbs chapter 14. And, a lot of good, interesting topics that we talk about here. One of the biggest topics that today discussed was the action of doing right versus wrong. And, I'll get to some other things that we kind of talked about, or I should say that we read through the Bible today as well. But I think the most important one is the act of doing right and wrong. I think that we live our day-to-day lives and we try to go out there and do our best, and that truly is what God, asks for. Um, you don't want to put too high of a pressure on yourself to amass or to amount to this or to live that perfect life. I think that rather than using to live a perfect life, I think the goal that we should have as a human race is to live an authentic life. Because I think when you live with authentic intentions, you get to see honesty versus dishonesty. And that was one of the biggest things that the chapters that I read through today kind of talked about. And, honesty is the key thing. And one of the examples they had used was back in, the earlier times, a king would have a numerous communicators, right? And those communicators had to be trusted because if they came back with, let's say, a false message, or they misread the message, or there was a deceitful plan composed of that messenger, it could cause things as bad as war. It could cause things as bad as maybe even a death to someone. And gratefully, we don't have that same reliance through communication channels today, but we also still make those same mistakes. And it's a blessing not to have those types of punishments where, one wrong communication can cause, an entire war, or one communication can cause someone's death. I mean, I guess sadly, as you could say, it technically could still happen today, but it's not as, um, I would say, easily produced in today's time. I think that we have a process kind of put in place, and you hope that that justice of process is with good intent. But the key thing that I think you got to start with is honesty with yourself. So before you can communicate with others, you've got to ask yourself, how am I communicating internally? Am I honest with myself? Am I honest with what my intentions are of this life? Am I honest with my business, endeavors? Am I honest with my personal friendships? Am I honest with my spouse? Am I honest with my kids? Because I think if you ask yourself that question, it's a recapturing point of maybe where you need to start the next chapter of your life. Because I think if you go about life and you find yourself continuing to unfold these untruthful events, what I have come to find in life is they will always come back and not haunt you, because that is the typical term, but they will always come back to cause future problems. And that's why I preach to my audience today to live with good intent, have good intentions in your actions, seek the right choices, even when those choices maybe are not the easiest. Because I think when you go about life and you make the right choices and you act with honest intent, you find yourself feeling good. And the outcomes sometimes when you make good choices aren't the most favorable, but I think what we've got in looking at that outlook is sometimes we have a biased opinion of why we feel we need to commit to the idea or commit to telling the false thing. And is that because of maybe a job promotion? Is that because of, it's just your normal tendency? So, you accidentally stretch the truth every time someone asks you a question. And that was a big thing that the Bible talked about in here today too, was not overcompensation, but it basically talked about a person that has to tell their audience who they are versus a person that allows their audience to learn who they are was a very important thing. And it didn't say that word for word in the Bible, but that's kind of how I understood it, and how that relates and what the overall message was of the Bible today in some of the readings was, you don't always have to sell yourself. I think sometimes listening is a better way of going about life than always talking. Because when you're listening, you're actually able to engage your audience. You're physically wanting to find out what their message is. And this is so, just brilliant to have in life, because most people do want to do the talking. But where you get your most learning is through listening, because you can listen, you can watch people's emotions, you can watch what their cues are saying, you can watch what their physical appearance is coming off, and you can learn. And that learning sometimes can prevent us from getting into situations that maybe our normal clouded judgment tries to secure us within. But all I can say is preaching on that is just understand that, if in life, when you're going through things and you are constantly looking to speak, and you're constantly looking to tell the person across from you why you're so good or why you deserve the position, one of the things you got to ask yourself is have a self-realization moment of, is this truly what I want? Am I believing in what I'm saying? Or what has gotten me to this point of feeling the way that I feel? And I feel like those in-depth questions is a lot of times what I myself miss sometimes in life, and I'm sure some of my audience has missed that. But you have to be real with yourself and figure out, what is the right path? And is that right path including honesty? Is that right path including trust? Not just trusting people to trust you, but you to trust people. It's got to be a both-way relationship. And speaking of relationships, one of the other things that the Bible talked about was, how our friends and family are typically people that we turn to for advice. And the Bible, states that is a good thing to do, but you have to approach it with caution. Because a lot of times, and I fully believe in this, when a person in your family is asking for advice, a lot of times our family members or friends, because they are like us and because we find things of likewise, origin, it sometimes can allow their responses to almost tell us what we want to hear, right? Because a family member may tell you that they're in agreement with you because of a couple different reasons. A, they find the same practices and they preach the same things that you do. B, they don't want to hurt your feelings because they are so close with you, or maybe they're not close enough, so they tell you what maybe you want to hear. But when asking and seeking advice, there's got to be weight on your shoulders, because are you going to that specific person and asking that specific person for advice because you're going to get the outcome that you're hoping to get reassured? And I think that's a huge thing about counsel. And I know I'm going kind of all over the place and touching on different things, but the Bible was so fruitful today of just different learning curves that I'm trying to get my audience to see all of these different things that I was able to, just read and understand and really apply to my history and what I want to do for my future. But make sure when you find troubling times, you don't just turn to people that are going to give you the advice that you want to hear. Because if that's the statement, then don't you find that you're going to be back in the same place that you were before you asked that question? Because more than likely you are going to make that suggestive opinion, and you are going to do the action that you went to seek counsel for because they reassured your feelings, but you never really dive down to your real problem that you were trying to secure with a solution. You never got past the first objection. You just got the reassurance. And yes, although that feels good sometimes, what we've got to understand is where's your growth from that, right? Like, where is your growth for seeking a problem and trying to find the best, honest, most truthful solution. And that's a big target area that a lot of people don't like to do. And so what the Bible was talking about was, rather than turning to just always friends and family, seek someone out that is older and wiser, right? I think our parents tell us this all the time, that they don't want us to go through the same struggles that they've gone through. And, that's a huge blessing because, just how precious is that to have a parent make that statement, and hopefully it is of good intent. Parents are parents, they're humans at the end of the day. But how much of a blessing is that to have a parent or someone older in your life who doesn't want you to see the same struggles, doesn't want to see you make the same struggles that they had to go through. So they want to prevent that. And I think that's a big thing in God's message is it doesn't have to be a family member, to seek this older, wiser person. And really, I hate saying older because I hate the whole age discrimination type of thing of, this person's too old or this person's too young. In my background, I've experienced the discrimination of being too young for certain things. When I've had different businesses and I've had those objections. So for my audience of all age demographics, I see everyone as a beautiful person. And I feel like those limiting factors aren't something that I like to utilize. But I think in God's message here, it's important to take away, I think, the honest intent of it, which is to seek someone who has lived this world for quite some time and who has had to make some of the same decisions that you may have made, maybe on a different topic, but has had to go through those feelings, those emotions, and if that person made the wrong decision and he's learned from it, he can teach you those learnings or she can teach you those learnings. And so I think it's a blessing to understand that. My main point here is when you have a problem in life or when you're trying to start a next chapter of honesty and true intent, right? Honesty and true intent. Surround yourself with people that aren't always just going to tell you maybe what you want to hear, or maybe don't just talk to your continued audience. Talk to people that you come in contact with, but you've yet to take that opportunity to have a conversation with them. And find out that wisdom that they have that they're so willing to typically give. One of the sweetest things about Home Depot and Lowe's, I kid you not, man, it's like every retired person's dream, honestly, even my dream too, to go into Home Depot when I, later retire in life. And honestly, I may work at Home Depot and be the greeter or be a person that can help, young adults or any type of age adults or kids even, to help them with their projects and stuff like that. And the beauty that I say of that is like anytime you go into Home Depot and you ask some of the gals or guys, it's just like you can see they have so much joy that just comes out. They're just so excited to say, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And, here's what you can do. It's an offerance of help. And that to me is a sight of joy, right? Because you have these unraveled emotions that just come out in a blink of an eye. It's almost like, the feeling of that person giving information that they know or giving the wisdom that they have come to in this point of time in their life is the same type of happiness that I feel like a young teenager gets when he gets or she gets the keys to their car, whatever their first car is. It's like that happiness, that excitement, that electricity that is just going. And so surround yourself or allow your surroundings to let people in who may have a great wise point or a great wise decision that can impact your life for the greater good. And I think that was God's message is life is about seeking opportunities in many different ways. It's about the encouragement of taking a new route, but understanding God is with you all throughout that route. Understanding that God is going to be with you through your insecurities, through your troubles, through your hardships, through your happy moments, through your disappointments, through your self-realization moments, through your self-attacking moments, through any type of moment that you go through, God's got his hand waiting for you to grab his hand and for him to be able to guide you. And so, I'm going to keep this message more so short today, but the blessing is go about this life, start this next chapter right after you listen to this video, and live this life with good intent. Live this life in a way that you can take to heaven, knowing that you did everything you possibly could to be a good person, to be a good human, to give back rather than always taking, to listen rather than always speaking. Allow God to transcend your life and be a good student, right? Be a student. It feels great to be a teacher, but at the same time too, when you're always a teacher and you don't want to listen, you can't continue to evolve. You become stagnant, right? You become, I think what some people witness in life, which is, I've talked about this many times in videos, because a lot of times it goes through, so many different impacts in your life, but you recreate the same pattern over and over and over. And, people get bored of patterns. People get frustrated with patterns. People don't like patterns. Some people do like patterns, but at the end of the day, it's okay if you're in a good pattern. But if you're in a pattern that you feel that there are limitations set and there is not growth for you, we should always be growing. You should always be prudent of your future to want to grow through knowledge, through, God's word, through studying, through new books, through new opportunities, through watching movies. Take the good, search the good out of the message or activity that you're doing and apply that good in your life. And so, I speak passionately about this stuff because I just love it. I think every time I read the Bible, I just get so excited. I get passionate. I find that there are so much beautiful messages, and that is why God left us his word. It's through the Bible that we can learn to be what he had destined us to be. And so, let's start marching. Let's start moving in the right direction. Let's start being good listeners. Let's start advocating change, where change needs to be. Let's continue to speak up and be there for other people. Let's give back to other people. Let's help other people, and help at times that are maybe an inconvenience. If you're going through all the 50 million stop signs that are in front of your grocery store, because who knows why they have to have that many stop signs, but you see, a person that is looking to walk, stop for a second and let them walk. Life is not, and it never was designed to be this rushed life pace. That's the beautiful hindrance of the world and society, is we are taught to move fast, act fast, and think last. But I think we got to switch that around a little bit. Think more, act with proficiency, and take opportunities when you sometimes just least favor want to take that opportunity. But so strive out there today, and like I said, enrich yourself with something new. Bring something new into your life, and see how that works out for you. But I appreciate my audience, and I thank y'all for your time. And I hope this message was fruitful for your future and in your present. And, let God, like I said, he's got his hand down for you. And so take that hand and let him guide you. But that's all. Stay blessed out there, guys. Thank you.